Many years a man had used to follow him. What he used to do? He used to use it or sometimes which part? All in the never miss. He used to one day the old hammer just disappeared. Some say that it vanished into thin air. So we got to go up Lavanti Hill. We got to find the hammer. We searching high and low, and we searching still. Why? We got to find the hammer. Check behind every door, every window sill. Why? We got to find the hammer. We got to go up Lavanti Hill. We got to find the hammer. Now just imagine this Piccadilly Street. This is not Piccadilly Street right here. And we're going up the hill. Oh, Lavanti, here we come. Lavanti, here we come. We're singing praises to your son, let me tell you now. Oh, Lavanti, here we come. Are they ready to go? Yes, sir? You ready? You ready? Everybody sing. Somewhere up in Lavanti, many years ago, a man had a hammer, used to follow him through. He used to use it to pump a pan, or sometimes a stupid man. All in the savannah, never miss panorama. One day the old hammer just disappeared. Some say that it vanished into thin air. Everybody sing! I mean the man with the hammer gone. Anybody know where the hammer gone? Yeah, somebody tell me what's going on. I got to know where the hammer gone. Oh yeah, why you up and leave? Why you make me grieve? Hammer, tell me that. Why you do me that? Oh Lord, when the dragon don't want the trail no more. When the dragon don't want the trail no more. From April of 85, Hammer went to sleep. After years of making noise now, not even a beat. He used to move with the dragon man, all through the soca land, always on the sea. They used to control the Baba Green, but the dragon don't want the trade no more. Who holding the hammer? I want to know. I mean the man with the hammer gone. Thunderbolt Williams, what's going on? This hammer day in we are heavy on. I anything like a police boots on the corner. Look children, search under your bed, all above your head. Look behind the door. Tell dragon don't walk the trail no more. Well, the dragon don't walk the trail no more. I was at the funeral when they burned the general. I was at the funeral when they burned the general. Oh, what a sad morning. Oh, what a sad morning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember on a silver chariot riding to the sun, leaving fire in its wake, spirits on the run. As we gather round that day, my sister Sheila said, oh, last night she see a sign, see the hammer and do it fine. Said like thunderbolt, she fall out the sea. We don't sound the tune up and already. Again, I'm with the man with the hammer. Sister Sheila, darling, what going on? This hammer again, we are heavy on. I said, the thing like a police boots on the corner. Look, children, search on through the town. Turn it upside down. Check on top the hill. On that window sill. Oh, Lord, oh, Lord. Well, the dragon don't walk the trail no more. Well, the dragon don't walk the trail no more. They say he don't walk the trail. They say he don't walk the trail. They say he don't walk the trail. They say he don't walk the trail, no, no. Say the dragon don't walk the trail no more. Say the dragon don't walk the trail no more. What do I say? But I said they lie. I said they damn lie. I tell you they lie. I said they damn lie. I tell you they lie. 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 He was right there in the savannah. Right there in Panorama, right there inside that Parados band. I said the man was right there in the savannah, right there in Panorama. I see the hammer in the hand. After that you walk in the trail, walk in the trail again. I say you walk in the trail, I say you walk in the trail. Watch it, walking, 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 walking. Hey!
Royalty, David, Michael, Rudder, the hammer. David Rudder in 1987, when the monarchy with a hammer, win the road march with Bahia Girl, and of course, won the Young King. Nobody never did it before or did it after. The hammer, celebrating part of our folklore, you know. The hammer is one of them chaps, pre-Simon and them who invent the steel pan in Trinidad. And he dead. And the same night they bury, they said they hear him pong in a pan. You hear? Hear. Listen, you pong the pan. You know, but you all know how we treat with our dead, the ancestors. Rain a fall by a dead. She don't want to go home. She cry. She don't want to go. You know. She up there, she gone, she starts sing already up there, celebrating the afterlife. David Rudder there celebrating the death of one of the founders of Steel Pan in Trinidad and Tobago. And that although he's dead, he's still up there with the ancestors, beating the pan, using the hammer to pong a pan. Steel band. Identification. I am so glad that I'm West Indian, that I'm Guyanese. That is the height of creativity. The height of creativity. Good evening to all of you. Rickford Burke is going to be here tonight, you all boy, so he's going to be here tonight, and we haven't had Rickford on in quite a while, and we are going to be chatting. This week this is likely to be a busy week. Dr. Henry Jeffries on tonight, the leader of the opposition. He hasn't been here for the year. He's going to be on this week. We haven't decided on the day yet, but he's going to be on this week. I'm going to have an Indian panel to get the Indian Guyanese reaction to Adriana's death and everything that goes with it. And then I'm going to have an all Amerindian panel. So it's going to be a busy week. Rickford Burke is here tonight, so you share a link. Share the link. You all share the live. Share the live because Rickford is here, and Rickford has his following, and we're going to be talking about a range of issues tonight. Things are happening in Guyana every day. Some fire at the airport, fire in the wire, bomb going off, GPL, bomb going off, police outpost, fire at community center every day. We have our theory about what's happening. They're shooting up we boys on the border, and the president and them partying, and the lack of baby Skello for singing about the private parts and what you want to do with the private parts of the Indian goddess. And you get some Walla Walla black people mouth to them. Oh, it's so nasty what he's saying. Oh, it's so nasty. Of course it's nasty. But is the first time I hearing nastiness? Is the first time you all hearing nastiness? It's okay when they sing about nastiness about black women, right? Yeah? Yeah? Me want punani's black women private parts. Black goddess private parts. And everybody's okay. Me want punani. Give me punani. But when you sing but an Indian woman punani, oh Jesus Christ, blasphemy. But it's okay to sing but black woman punani. You see, that's why they don't like me in Guyana, because I ain't talking. I ain't hiding. They're too damn hypocritical. Those Indian people who want to jump up and dance up with one punani, give me punani, but one Skello get jail for singing about an Indian goddess punani. They're okay, they jump up and sing but black woman punani, right? Eh? And they got some black people fall into the shit. But we black people, especially the black middle class, it's too she. They never fail to surprise. Because they want to look good. They want to look good. Rickford Burke is here tonight. He's already backstage. He's powdering up and putting on his makeup. We have a makeup artist now. So he's getting ready. Wan punani, give me punani. You know? It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay, you know? It's okay to sing about black woman punani.
Give me punani, wa punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Oh, don't pass me them, wa punani. Don't pass me them, wa punani. James pass me them, wa punani. Any punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Oh, don't pass me them, wa punani. Don't pass me them, wa punani. James pass me them, wa punani. Any punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Oh, don't pass me them, wa punani. Don't pass me them, wa punani. James. Give me punani, wa punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Oh, don't pass me them, wa punani. Don't pass me them, wa punani. James pass me them, wa punani. Any punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Give me punani, wa punani. Oh, don't pass me them, wa punani. Don't pass me them, wa punani. James pass me them, wa punani. Any punani.
You see the hypocrite them? You see the hypocrite them? Have you see them? Have you see them? You see the hypocrite them? The dancing, including the president. Forget about the rhythm. There's a different rhythm. So don't laugh the rhythm, right? The fact is that they're dancing to lyrics of African women private parts. That's not blasphemy. Nobody's going to be charged for public terror. Nobody's going to charge for racial hostility. It's okay to party to lyrics about Black women private parts, because punani is Black women. It originates in Jamaica. The term punani. Skello sing but what he gonna do to Indian punani. Because that's lastly represent Indian womanhood. And he's singing about having sex with Indian women. Just like Sparrow. He marriaging, sexy marriaging, racy marriaging. He's talking, what the singers are doing is that they are turning Indian women, as they've done with Black women, and Amerindian women. All they're doing is turning Indian women into sex symbols. It's good for Black women. It's good for Amerindian women to turn them into sex symbols. But Indian women should not be turned into sex symbols. Because that's what Parode said, marriaging. Sexy marriaging. Racy marriaging. Or when Shati, Lord Shati, Ras Shati, I sing Indrani. And them Calistonians sing from Rebecca to Baptist woman to Jean and Dinah. Everybody look how they jump in. Give me punani, give me punani. By their standard, the police is gonna arrest them, arrest the president for promoting lewdness. But it's not lewdness, it's Black women. That's what Black women are. They are sex symbols. Nobody get angry. I see some educated Black people, women, when they listen to this Skello thing, they hold their head and ball. Oh, this thing is nasty, make them sick. And give me punani, it's not, it don't make ayubal. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. But Indian punani is special. the damn hypocrisy of our country. And it's not just Indian people are hypocritical. Some black people are. Sometimes black people need to shut their damn mouth. If you have nothing to say, shut up. If you know nothing about nothing, shut up. If you're talking about lewd lyrics, you gotta go back from when music starts. If you all are saying let's moderate lewd lyrics, I for that. I just can't take the dirty lyrics. I can't take it. I don't play it in my car. I don't play it in my house. I don't play it on my program. If they're in a public place and they play it and the music will jumpy, I'm going to jump to it. I'm going to jump to it. Right? But I ain't promoting it. But I'm not pretending that some of the other skello dropped from the sky. We've been singing about women, especially black women and sex. Look what Sparrow did to Paul, what's your name? Teacher Mildred, the African prude, the prudish African. Sparrow get in his head running up the lady foot. So it's okay to take the African prude, the African Lashmi, because Teacher Mildred, foot can't open, she's a prude. And Sparrow opens her foot and said, no, I am laughing. Because I don't think it's necessarily lewd lyrics. It is the artist being creative in taking Teacher Mildred, who never had a man in her life, and he gave Teacher Mildred a man, the lizard. That's Teacher Mildred man. And we all dance to it and have a good time. But as soon as the singer says something about an Indian prude, and we want to kill him, jail him. Meme. Sparrow take Meme, he carries she till pan the beach, Claxton Bay. And they're having sex in the sand. And we all didn't find that to be offensive. Mr. Walker, I come to see you, daughter. Obia, wedding. She perspiration stink. All that the Calypsonians sing but black woman. And we party, we didn't find it offensive. Y'all don't worry. Me get plenty manuscript on Calypso lyrics, so I just have to find the time. From birth, I have heard sexy lyrics. Wonder who remembers the brown girl in the ring from the 40s and go right back. Even in our folk music. I tell you all the other day, they sing for the Changi man something, Lily so, Kuli man something, Lily so, but black man something, biggie so. But then in the same folk genre, they sing but the Changi man sexing the African woman for favors in his good shop. For shilling laba, Changi man knock him down a chamber. For 2-piece onion, Changi man knock him down a chamber. For 2 fair garlic, Changi man knock him down a chamber. Or Anami says so, and the Chinese says so. He said Wong Pong Wing. He said Ching Long Ching. He said Chai Chai. You know, you talk about religion. You talking about religion in our folk music. In our folk, Rickford coming up because he gonna tear the church tail tonight. He coming. In our folk music, Samuel, oh Samuel, as she lover, Samuel from the back, Samuel from the front, Samuel was a reverend father, Samuel, and I put on me surplice, Samuel, and I put on me cassock, his holy communion, and I gish it from the front. It's in me folk music, right? Is it desecrating of Christian religion? Me put on me surplice, Samuel, and me put on me cassock, his holy communion, and I put it in his leg. Are we singing that in Kwekwe music? So where are we getting off with this desecration of religion? You all have to ban them songs from Kwekwe, or jail people who sing them Kwekwe songs. We have a lot to teach ourselves. Oh yes, line excuses. Line excuses. If you see me arm in your chest, it's not feeling up she breast. I mean, it's the great creativity. If you come to the West Indies and you see a man and a lady, it's not assaulting he just dancing the donkey. All right. You all gotta pay me. You all gotta pay me for taking you all back to old time and interpreting some of the music. Guyana is a damn hypocritical place. It's a damn hypocritical place. Indians are being hypocritical, and then black stooshy people are being worse. Because when they go, one punani. Look, the president dancing to black woman punani, but jailing a little boy for single woman, Indian woman punani. That's why. Are you left me with them? All right, it's Rickford Burke time. Rickford Burke, good night.
Good night, Dr. Haynes. Good night to you, Dr. Hines. Good night to your listeners. I've never heard those songs. You sure you didn't make them up?
No.
Never heard those songs.
Me know. You see, your father was a policeman, right?
Obviously, yes, he was.
You move from place to place, so he never come to Vigilance Police Station.
Huh?
He ever been at Vigilance Police Station?
No, but he was at Cove and John, and that's the headquarters of Vigilance.
Yeah, but if you come to Vigilance, you gotta live for Buxton, so you would have know them songs.
My grandfather used to live in Buxton.
Okay. No.
But of course, I was a little child, so that music would have been inappropriate for me at that time.
Yeah, but no, those are Kwekwe songs. Those are your foreparents from Maikoni or wherever. They looked around them and they made songs. They made mostly are the songs about women, but they also made songs about men, you know. Bartik woman Bobby Lang Laka Lang Dam. She Bobby Lang, she Batty Lang.
Did you say Bartika?
Bartika woman Bobby Lang Laka Lang Dam. So
no. That wasn't my Bartika. That was a different Bartika.
No, but I am telling you about how we sing about women and black women, and the society is okay with it. So where you Bartik woman Bobby Lang Laka Lang Dam. So long that me want for succumb. She Bobby Lang, she Batty Lang, he Lang Laka Wang Bam. 10 yards from a bag of all up, she pampalam. All right. Singing about women is as old as Noah. And
well,
so
Dr. Hines, for me, For me, I think desecrating women of all, and I'm sure you agree with me, of all races, cultures, whether they're gods or not, is inappropriate and we shouldn't do it. But also, if we're going to regulate speech, it has to be equal across the board. So
Certainly.
if you think singing in vulgar a vulgar manner about a god from some other religion than yours, or about a woman from Buxton. Once it's degrading to women, it's inappropriate and it should not be condoned across the board.
Yes, but
Um,
Rickford, hold on.
mhm.
What is degrading? What
Well, what
is
some people might find
one
degrading.
day me in a bamboo dam and me see Sitaria lie down there and me ask Sitaria what she do there. Sitaria I she petticoat wine like a boxing bull. Oh Sitaria more man there. Come on, that is not
No,
desecrating.
I'm not saying no. I'm not
I
saying
know you are not
that
saying
is desecrating. I'm just saying if you're going to
yes,
deem
right.
what Skello did as degrading to a religion or women, then it should be across the board. The problem we have with the Ethnic Relations Commission and the PP government is a glorification of ethnic supremacy. They
Yes,
think that
yes,
their ethnicity is supreme to everybody's. And so what they do is they try to regulate speech against their ethnicity in terms of the criminal code. And they use the criminal justice system to punish people who not only speak ill of these gods or women in general or whatever it is. They use it if you speak out against their leaders, against their political party. It is all ethnic supremacy.
yes.
And like I'm not condoning anything Skello or anybody else has said.
Right,
Let me
right.
make that clear before somebody run and misquote me. But I'm saying if you're regulating speech in that manner, it must be done equally and fairly and justly across the board. And that's why they they ran and said the Ethnic Relations Commission condemned what Vice Cartel did. But why there had to be national condemnation of their actions in this case, and why they had to be exposed for their bias and partial actions before they acted. Why Imran was not arrested when he said that all black people should be killed? Why? Why? The Ethnic Relations Commission must explain that. The government must explain why they were not outraged. You know why they weren't outraged? Because he said it about people of African descent. And so, like you're trying to point out, Dr. Hines, they're only outraged when something directly affects them. But if they see a man degrading a woman, beating her up, cursing out on social media, they won't act. Listen, a minister of the government, Kwame McCoy, assaulted a member of parliament. They didn't act because she was a black woman. The PPP men have been violating the humanity and rights of black women in that country from since 2020 when they came back to power. And before, nothing happened. They don't care
Right.
because it is not somebody that looks like them. And that's why they hate us, because we point out the fact, we speak truth to power. And so, again, I want to emphasize that I think what Baby Skello said was outrageous, but it must be outrageous as well, like you're pointing out, when other people speak ill or in a degrading term of women, of black women too. Now, I also want to say this: Guyana Daily News, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of the PPP and a surrogate of the PPP, owned by Sheriff Security, every day attack people in the vilest way, in the most indecent way, defamatory, smear, and the government does nothing. Listen to what critics say about black women. The government does nothing. Cybercrime unit does nothing. So I want the people of Guyana to understand that nobody here is condoning what Skello sang or said, because I don't even think that is singing. What we're saying is that the laws must be implemented equally. And if you're going to be outraged about what Skello said, you must be outraged about what Kwame did to the MP and what all the other PPP people do and on social media as well.
And Rickford, we are taking it to another level. If you talk about outrage, being outraged at those lyrics, you are taking away 90% of the lyrics of our popular music. You see, like how you said you never hear them song that sing there, right? And I understand that, right? Kwekwe is about marriage. Marriage is about sex and making children. How are you going to talk about blasphemy? 1 and 2 a lily girl number. 2 and 3 a teacher girl number. 5 and 6 a big body number. Woman a piss a pole like a thunder. There's creativity at its eyes, and that's folk. That's folk. Young girl foot a broke partition. Old lady foot a tear sheet. You understand that? Rickford? Young girl foot broke partition. Old lady foot a tear sheet. I am a student of folk music in the Caribbean. And sex, and because women has always been seen as the sexual symbol, a lot of the songs are about women. All right? Now, so you say, woman are dead here for man. Woman are dead here for man. Woman are dead here for man.
Dr. Hines,
hold on, Rickford. Hold on. My generation in Buxton added to that song. Man a dead here for woman. Man a dead here for woman. Man a drink marathon for woman. As generations go on, we do what is called bring the songs up to date with the norms. So back in the 40s and the 50s, it was singing on women mostly. Now, new generations are adding lyrics to also now sing on man. If you all go with this condemn lyrics and so on, you're getting into trouble. If you don't like Skello lyrics, don't listen to it. It's as simple as that.
But not only that, it should not be criminalized.
Yes.
And that's the issue. It's criminalizing free speech. And the point I'm making, I happen to think, as a Christian, his song was vulgar and outrageous. But that's just my perspective. Did he commit a crime? Obviously not. But the point I'm making is that the guy sang this vulgar song. He's then arrested. And I'm saying you have people who actually committed crimes by calling for the murder and slaughter of people of a different race, and nothing happened. And that's why we have these problems of division in Guyana, because the laws are not implemented equally. And that's the problem the PPP has. They're promoting ethnic supremacy. They're glorifying one ethnicity and they degrade another one, and then they use the laws to enforce what they think is their morality. And that's the problem.
No, I get that point, but I'm saying the other point is that this thing about vulgar lyrics, we have to be very, very careful with it. Look, Julia's telling me, woman lay down and the man can function. What kind of man is that? Woman, anti-man. Woman lay down and the man can function. What kind of man is that? Woman skin up and the man can stand up. What kind of man is that? And it's equal opportunity in the music. Sex has always been part of the music. The point I'm making, one can be, if you're a Christian, you want them Christian people that's come to Kwekwe,
Obviously, yes.
And they will tap their foot and they will dance and so on. And the first time they come, they will tap their foot and dance. Second time they come, they start move their waist. By the time they come the third time and quicker, they will sing the song then. Because they figure out over time, it is not an assault on their religion. It's a secular language. That's what it is. It is second language. And once we get into this business about what is lewd lyric, look at the president. Look. Does he realize why he's a punani?
Well, Dr. Hines, I'm not sure if that was the original song he was dancing to. I think that might have been superimposed over the song that he was dancing. That because the video that I saw wasn't that song. So I think somebody may have superimposed that.
What the song he was dancing to?
It was a soca. It was a soca song.
All them, that's raga soca. That is raga soca. Give me punani, it's raga soca.
But,
anyhow,
but the thing about it that I want to emphasize is that I think the rest of the young man was outrageous, especially in comparison with the outrageous things that people from the PPP do and say and sing. And so it is inexplicable that they allow critics to behave just in a vulgar way. The PPP members of parliament hurled the most nasty, vulgar slurs at black women in parliament. And there's no outrage. There's no outrage. You had Nigel Darmlal, a PPP member of parliament, telling a member of parliament speaking on the floor to go and get a dildo. Right? So they have selective outrage and they promote East Indian ethnocracy. Sorry, they're an ethnocracy, but they promote East Indian supremacy.
Yeah.
When they act like this, they promote, it's just like white supremacy. That's what they do. It's like the young man showing Barry Jack there the finger and getting arrested. Well, if a young black boy who is showing Barry Jack there the finger is arrested, why that Nigel Darmlal, who's telling a member of parliament to go get a dildo, is not arrested? And why Kwame McCoy, who is physically assaulting a member of parliament, why isn't he arrested? And we have to ask these questions because the PPP only use the laws against people who don't look like them and people of a different political persuasion.
Exactly. Rickford, your church, the Seventh Days Adventist Church, which is one of the more important churches, Christian churches, and I'll tell you why. Not because you, of course, know as a Seventh Days Adventist. There's what in the United States, what was known as the First Great Awakening, and then we had the Second Great Awakening. This was when evangelist churches, Christian churches, began to admit black people into their midst. And they began to take communion. Yes, black people had to sit down at the back and take communion last. White people in front. But they did what the English church and the Catholic church didn't do. English church and Catholic church did not admit black people to worship among them. The Baptists, the Seventh Days Adventists, they were the first Christian churches to do that. And so therefore the Seventh Days Adventists is a very important church in the Christian faith in terms of its pushing back against slavery and white supremacy. I want to be on record as saying that. And so there's always been the debate about the separation between church and politics. And some of us in Guyana have been agonizing over the fact that a lot of the Christian churches in Guyana have either been silent on what is going on in the country or they've been lining up on the side of the powers that be. I have a soft spot for Seventh Days Adventists because 3 of my children are Seventh Days Adventists. 3 of them are Seventh Days Adventists. Every Saturday, they just pray for me and wish me happy Sabbath and so on and so forth.
That's good.
And as a young man in the village, I used to be invited by the Pathfinders to go and to talk to them about social issues, but that was a different era. Here we had the leader of the Seventh Days Adventist Church in Guyana literally endorsing the PPP and its leaders, and you were very swift in your response to them. Talk to us about what is it that enraged you about that action.
Well, first of all, the president called me and we had a frank discussion. And he pointed out that the video that I referenced was not a new video. It was a speech he made introducing the president in 2023. But it just got to my attention, and it was being used in a way to counter my advocacy. So let me put that, it wasn't a new speech that he made in this environment of Adriana Young. It was a 2023 speech. Nevertheless, the conditions that exist now existed then. And I expressed myself. I thought it was insensitive. I thought that this government is an ethnocracy. They do not promote racial healing. As a matter of fact, they work against it. The government is a racist government. The government has committed genocide against the African Guyanese population. Well, the PPP government. And this government continues to commit extrajudicial killings against the African Guyanese population. They starve us for funds. They practice racial discrimination against us. And so there's no way under the sun that this government can anyway be deemed, or this president can be deemed as promoting racial healing, promoting justice, morality, and equity. As a matter of fact, when you look at equity in Guyana, it's probably gets a grade Z when you compare equity in the rest of the world. So it's delusional to think that this government promotes equity, justice, and racial harmony. And in introducing the president of Guyana, the president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church said those things. He said to me, maybe he was a little generous in the introduction, but he meant no harm. And I spoke out against it because it undermines, what he said undermine our work, and has been and could be used again to counter our advocacy. And like I said, we had a good discussion. Now, let me say that I'm a Seventh-day Adventist, and my faith and conviction as a Seventh-day Adventist has not been shaken in any way. I'm a strong Seventh-day Adventist. I go to church not to worship man, but to worship God. And I would want to tell everybody who's Seventh-day Adventist and people who are not Seventh-day Adventists to not let any one person's opinion of what happens in our polity shape our opinion of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Shape our view of the 7 Days Adventist Church. But where do you stand on the separation of church and politics? Should the church be political? I'm not talking about political in the partisan sense, but political in the larger small p sense. Should the church be political?
Well, the church is part of the society, and we can't isolate the church from society. What I don't think is that no one, me, a member, an elder, a deacon, or a pastor, or a president, or an administrator, should use the church to propagate our own political views or propagate partisan political views. However, I happen to believe that the church, whether it's Seventh-day Adventist Church or any other church, as a part of the society, should participate in our political society. That's why I encourage politicians to come to the church and report to us and tell us what services they offer, because one, we pay taxes. Two, we are their constituents, and we vote for them. We vote. It's a civic responsibility that we exercise to vote. And the church's policy and the Bible tell us that that's part of our civic responsibility. So in that sense, I think the church has to be part of the society, and church members must fulfill their civic duty. And part of the civic duty is to allow politicians to come and talk to us about the services they offer, how they could help us as constituents, and about problems within the society, and to solicit our views and even recommendations for how some of our social or socioeconomic problems can be solved. In that way, I think the church has a role in politics. But to use the church in any way as a platform to advocate for either partisan politics or advance one's own political views or persuasion is unacceptable and should never be tolerated.
Should never be tolerated. Deborah and Gray, I hear you. And as Rickford is talking about the church there, you know, the other genre of African folk music is wake house music, Nancy Story, from church to chapel, chapel to church, from church to a sex them a sing about them by from church to chapel, chapel to church, from church to chapel, chapel to church. May go teach you Rickford at a sex them a sing about there, a wake house. Nancy Story who been there, me been there.
But you see that back in the days, they were not explicit. You had to think about it and grasp what. But these guys now are too explicit, and they get down into especially dance hall, and I see it's being picked up in the Guyanese culture. And like I said, we don't see them disrespecting men. They always defame, I don't know if it's defame, but they always sing songs that are derogatory or perceived to be derogatory to women. We must uplift our women and not degrade them.
You know, Lil Kim and them gal, Tanya Stevens and them, when they're singing dancehall, they does this degrade men. So to be very careful. When
but the scale is larger. The percentage of how women are disrespected are
in the business.
It far outweirs any disrespect to men. Yeah.
Very early, Calypso Rose sing a song called "No Mister." Indian man, Gishi come and say, giving she, you want Gishi a drop in the car. No Mister, no Mister, no Mister. 30 years later, Dennis Belfont said, I want an Indian man. Give me an Indian man. It evolves over time. Yeah? And while the lyrics today may be more explicit, the lyrics are a function of our education. All right? You can expect, if you're not teaching general knowledge in school, if you're not teaching critical thinking in school, for the children who are coming out of school and singing, they must sing while masking. You see, the old-time singers were masking because during slavery, you had to mask. All right? You're feeling strong, but you don't want to walk. Oh, God.
But I want to piggyback on that, the education part that you mentioned there. But it's not only education. That's a big factor. It's not only education. It is the fact that the PPP government and some other governments, you know, you see some of that in Africa, I see it in Trinidad now, while it is proper and appropriate to condemn vulgarity and the promotion of vulgar lyrics in our society that degrade citizens, period, it is an attempt to regulate morality and codify morality and free speech. So you cannot make people's expressions unless they threaten somebody or they expressly commit a crime. You cannot criminalize it. And that's the issue. You cannot criminalize morality, because if you want to criminalize what Skello said, another government might come in and criminalize something Barry Jagdale does, or a habit of somebody in the PPP, or a habit of your political opponent that speaks to morality, right? You can't criminalize morality, and you cannot criminalize speech.
Exactly.
And that's the problem with the PPP.
Exactly.
And if they want to do, if they even attempt to do that, which is not possible, they'll do it on a partisan / racist basis. Yeah, and that's where we have a problem.
Yeah, but Rickford, what I'm saying, quite apart from the political problem,
right,
there is the problem of ignorance. People do not know our culture. If
Right.
you're an Indian, you have no business knowing how lyrics in African popular music are being turned. What the singers call turning the lyrics. Now, when Skello, as you said, the Skellos of today are being very explicit in their language. You know why? That's what sells. That's what sells. Them young people and looking for masking. Young people looking for a kind of direct form of communication. And they are creating their own masking. I mean, I was amazed when a couple of years ago, I hear the young people talking about, you know, you're able. It took me about 3 years to understand the depth of what they were saying. So never mind the explicit language. Even within the explicit language, there is creativity. And what I'm saying is that this is not just about morality. This is not just about politics. It's also about the market. And it's also about a new generation creating their own creativity. Long time, you couldn't get Vivian Richards to wear a helmet on the cricket field. Today, every batsman wearing a helmet. All right? You see, times have changed and we have to be very careful about what we are calling vulgarity. What was vulgar for us 30, 40 years ago is not vulgar today. And we cannot impose morality on the society. As you are saying, it is not only the government who must stay away from imposing morality. It's those of us old people like me. Well, you're not old, you're younger by than me. Right?
I'm getting there. my son tells me I'm getting there.
Our morality on young people, because young people have figured out their own ways of creativity. It took me a bright buy, I would think, 3 years to figure out what these young people mean by you know you're able. Right? It's very
But
deep.
I think generally across the Guyanese society, there has been a terrible shift, and a breakdown in, I don't want to say morality because I don't want to impose my morality. I'll be guilty of the same thing. But every time the PPP is in government, right, they create an air of dishonesty and corruption there's something that they promote in the society that is disorderly.
Yes.
Right? They give people, like, people say, oh, by on the Granger buy money now run, right? On the Granger, man, things like money not run. You can't make certain mistakes and so on. They were speaking to the standards that the government set by which society must operate. The people are got no standard, right? They move away with every law, every regulation, every standard, whether it's culturally, in education, whatever it is. So there's a general degeneration and breakdown in this society. And they seem proud of it, right? Now, when you fail to condemn your member of parliament, telling a woman in parliament to go and get a dildo, what morality you can attempt to impose on the rest of the society? How can you talk to young men about disrespecting young women when you condone it in the highest level of decision making in the country? When you cover up the murder of a little child, 11-year-old child in society, how you can tell people that killing or assaulting women is wrong when you cover up the rape of a 16-year-old girl by one of your ministers of the government? How can you impose standards and ensure that you enforce laws against other people who rape children? When you thief out all the government money fearlessly and carelessly, without any care, because you know that the DPP is your people and the police commission is your people, and nobody will hold you to account. How can you then go to the accounts clerk who would have embezzled $100,000 and jail him? So throughout the society, right, there's effect, a degeneration based on the corrosive politics of the PPP. So in order for us to change, we got to change the government.
Yes, interesting points. Rickford Burke, let me ask you this: Do you think the PPP government knows who killed Adriana Young?
Well, I see them taking every effort to conceal the truth. I see them taking every effort to obstruct an investigation that would lead to the truth. I see them endorsing the nonsense that the police is doing. I see a government, to me, refusing to bring in a Western investigative agency of international repute, like the FBI, like Scotland Yard, like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. When I see that, it tells me that they're refusing to bring them in because they don't want them to find the truth. And then you can go and pull out some old man from retirement whose faculties are not as they used to be when he was an active duty cop. And you're going to bring him because some friend recommend him. And what you're bringing him to do is to endorse what the police is doing. Is disgusting. So it tells me that there's something that they're attempting to cover up, or they don't want the truth to be revealed. So I'm not sure how you want to categorize that, of whether they have knowledge of who did it. To me, they're protecting the truth from being exposed, and they're protecting their financier. That's my conclusion, unapologetically.
That's my conclusion, and I'm sure that is the conclusion of so many people. The debate is continuing about vulgarity today, and I know we are divided on that issue, but sometimes there are class sensitivities. Martin Carter wrote, and so again, I'm quoting Martin Carter, and so again, I become one of the 10,000s, one of the uncountable miseries owning the land. When the moon rose up, only the whores could dance. The brazen jazz of music. Now, nobody would imagine Martin Carter using the term whore in his poem. You know why? He's from the redskin middle class, and it's okay for him to do it. Skello is using the same lyrics. And we're telling Skello about lewd lyrics. Martin Carter is my favorite poem. But
the question to be asked to me,
yes,
from my perspective, if Skello had sung about Mary, Jesus' mother, Mary, would he have been arrested? Would we have seen that kind of outrage? And I think no. And the PPP government.
Yeah, we got that, but it's not just confined to that. They are people who are not Hindus, who are heaping scorn on Skello. And I am saying that the Skellos of the world have been there all the time. The lyrics of the Skellos are there. I just read for you Martin Carter, our poet, our national poet, said when the moon comes out, only the whore could dance.
Well, here was my response.
We are a hypocritical society. That's
what
I'm saying.
We are, but here's my response to that, right? I'm a proponent of free speech. So if we are going to say that we must respect free speech in satire, in humor, in singing, and whatever it is, and we're saying that this young man, even though as outrageous it is, he has free speech rights, then I think the people who are expressing outrage also have free speech rights.
Definitely.
The issue is, for me, I get that. I understand what you're saying. And I think we have to look at it equally in terms of when we look at free speech, whether or not he is offending people, he has free speech rights, right? He has rights to sing what he wants, so long as he doesn't commit a crime, break the law, threaten people or whatever it is. The problem is criminalizing it. And that's my issue. I understand what you're saying in terms of the hypocrisy of society, but criminalizing it takes it to a new level to me that promotes ethnic supremacy.
Yes. And I look, if the state media decide, look, we are not going to play music with lewd lyrics, I'm with you. Don't play no
across the board. Yes,
across the board. I don't have a problem with the state media because the state media, all of us own it. All right, and while some people may be comfortable with the lyrics, some people are not comfortable, and so therefore, in that regard, don't play it. Do not play songs with that kind of lyrics on the on the radio. I don't have a problem with that. If the private media want to play it, don't listen to the private media. The private media is not owned by the people. We can argue that the private media is broadcasting in the public space. That's another argument.
Right, so it's subject to regulation.
It's subject to regulation too. And I'm prepared to even go along with that. I am not promoting this kind of lyric, I am disgusted.
Right.
A lot of the time, I don't.
But my whole thing is, if you regulate it, Skello, you gotta regulate Guy in the Daily News, and you gotta regulate critic.
Yes.
And that is the problem. Critics says the most derogatory thing about women, vile, nasty, vulgar things. Oh, black people, hungry belly dog, this, that. Imran Khan call for the slaughter of all the blacks in the country. I just saw somebody saying that the opposition leaders should be killed.
Yeah.
And you know why the person saying it is not arrested? Because it's an Indian supporter of the PPP.
Yeah.
And that must be condemned. That selective enforcement of the law must be condemned. And that promotion of ethnic supremacy by the PPP government and the police force must be condemned. It must stop. But it's only going to stop if we have a change of government.
Rickford, what do you make of this use of the terrorism law to go after young people who the other night break into them Chinese people place, rob them, and so on?
Well, I'm not sure that they did that. So
no, let's assume that they did that. Some of them have admitted that they did that. Right?
Then charge them with larceny.
Yes.
Charge them with breaking and enter, burglary, whatever it is. But to charge them with terrorism is outrageous and racist.
Yes.
Now, we have two ministers who have been charged, who have been accused and investigated by the police for murdering 2 citizens. They weren't charged with terrorism.
Right.
You had PPP members of parliament and leaders breaking into GCOM, scaring the hell out of GCOM government workers, obstructing government administration, which is a crime. They weren't charged with anything. This PPP government charges African Guyanese who indulge in protests, civil disobedience with terrorism. There were people who ran, police officers with cutlasses. One of them chopped a policeman. He was hospitalized for 5 days at Bad Settlement. They weren't charged with terrorism. That's terrorism. There were Venezuelans on the border shooting at Guyanese soldiers. That's terrorism. There are Venezuelan gang members or Venezuelan military men threatening, robbing, holding up residents in Essequibo, where I'm from, my fellow Essequibians. The regional chairman, the governor of Region 7, was stopped by Venezuelan gang members. The regional chairman, right? Those are the people who should be charged with terrorism. This government is busy chasing down black people and charging them with terrorism for protesting and for committing larceny and burglary, while the Venezuelans are at our borders shooting at our soldiers. They're not charged with terrorism. As a matter of fact, they're not charged with anything. It shows you their priority. Their priority is to jail black people and let the Venezuelans run terror in the Essequibo. That's how much contempt they had for us. This ain't Nandalal, Jagdeo, and Ali, and all the others. They're not going and hunt down they're not. They can't go and hunt down the Venezuelans. But listen, the entire security posture of the PPP is geared towards quelling resistance from the opposition. It's not protecting the citizens of Guyana. It is not maintaining the national security of the country. It is geared to quell political dissent. And that's why we're in trouble. They don't even have a radar to pick up vessels and aircraft entering our borders. And they've spent almost $5 billion US. On what? We see mansions going up, right? We see fancy cars being bought. We see them taking trips where the president is spending $160 million on one trip, renting a hotel room for $10,000 in Manhattan, and they can't buy a helicopter to airlift the GDF officers who were shot at. They don't have generators when our soldiers are on the border.
Why?
I don't know. I'm told that they had generators, but they just weren't functioning. It was just
why the government is not spending money like they're spending money on infrastructure? Why are they not spending money?
Or sending GDF intelligence officers in America to follow us.
Right.
They're spending all this money. Spent $5 billion US on what? Look around Guyana. Could you explain to me where this $500 billion gone? If it is not at Sparendam Seawall side and at Leonora, where is it? The GDF don't have no proper boat. The GDF patrolling the Cayuga River with wooden boats. Porous. You fire at it, the bullet go through. Why they don't have a Coast Guard type cutter in the Cayuga River? What are they doing with the money? That's what the citizens must ask. But if you want change, like I said, you got to change the government.
We have to change the government, and this is Brother Rickford Burke here tonight, and he's weighing in. And you know, Rickford don't talk with water in his mouth. Later on this week, we're going to have the opposition leader, Mr. Aubrey Norton. He has not been on air for the year, and he will be on before the end of the week. I haven't figured out yet. We haven't figured out yet which one of the evenings. But he will be on sometime this week. I'm also trying to put together an Amerindian, an indigenous people panel to get the indigenous people's perspective on the Adriana issue and where the government has taken us today. And then an Indian Guyanese panel so that we get a broad perspective of where we are as a people,
as society. Can I say something on that?
Yes,
go
ahead.
I noticed, first of all, the president, immediately after the autopsy, this so-called autopsy was done, the president, not the pathologists, not the chief medical officer, not a doctor, the president, who went to IFLUT University, pronounced on the autopsy. He did not meet with the pathologists. He was not present in there, but he gave the results, the so-called results, which says the child died from drowning. And the pathologist said, that's what he said, the pathologist said that they didn't find evidence that she died from, what is this word, deliberate, or sorry, he said she was not killed. Forcible drowning. That's the term he used. Forcible drowning or any other form of killing, including being thrown in the pool. What the hell is that? Where he get that from? He never apologized and withdrew it. Why is he commenting on an autopsy report and he's completely unqualified to speak about it? Second, then I see Barrett Jagdale commenting on whether or not the parents of the child is entitled to see. What kind of poppycock is that? You got some Cutter economists telling the family of a murdered child that they don't have a right to know or to see documented evidence of how their child died. Then you have Anil Nanolal talking about the same thing and propagating this nonsense, but the government fulfilled its responsibility by bringing in some octogenarian who's a former detective in Canada who could hardly move around Guyana. To do what? To do what? The government took no evidence, no fiber evidence, no footprints, no fingerprints, nothing on the scene. I heard that the hard drive for the DVR is missing. I heard that they didn't dust the place for fingerprints. They didn't even screen the people who were there. What crime scene is that? So what is this man coming to investigate? This to me is an investigation that has to be done by experts who are forensic experts, who are fiber experts, who can decipher this mess that the police deliberately made of the crime scene. And it requires a team of experts. And that's why I said earlier, the actions of this government tell me they don't want a proper investigation. To me, Orfanali's intent when he made that very erroneous comment was to kill the investigation right there. Pathologist said she drowned, it was not forcible drowning, and she didn't die by any other form of killing, and she wasn't thrown in the pool. And that's their responsibility. Right? The people of Guyana completely rejected it. And I agree with them. I agree with the attorneys. I agree with the family. There must be a proper investigation. What is this government hiding? Why the police is still involved in this when we know they lied, when we've seen them deliberately disintegrate this crime scene? Why are they still involved? And if the nation is saying they don't have confidence in the police force, if the family is saying they don't have confidence in the police force, if the authorities is, why the hell are they still involved? That's my question to the government.
The question to the government, good evening to all of you who are out tonight. Our brother Rickford Burke is here, and Rickford, as you know, is one of those constant voices, speaking up, speaking out, and speaking to those who would want to arrest justice and to make it serve their nefarious objectives. Those of you who are in Guyana on the East Coast, next week, Monday, Independence Day, the WPA would be holding a justice rally in Buxton, to highlight the Adriana Young's murder, to keep it alive, but also to highlight the other incidents. Keon Fujini, his killer, has not yet been brought to book. His killer has not yet been brought to book. More than a month later, almost 2 months later, his killer has not been brought to book. The shooter of the man at Linden whose eye was damaged has not been brought to book. The killer of the young man from Buxton who they said was in some robbery but couldn't show us where he was robbing. And you go talk to people in Buxton, that young man is every day in front of the gas station as a result of a project that was started by an overseas Buxtonian, Brother Slater Jeffrey, who started that project and put those young men to work in front there. That boy was not a thief. That boy was not a robber. He was there and they killed him. They killed him, and his shooter's not been brought. Guyana has become a killing field. Unfortunately, it's a killing field where Africans are being killed. And so when we talk about justice for Adriana. It's just not justice for that young lady. It's justice for all those African children who have been killed by this government.
It's a pent up anger.
Yeah, that's right. Nigel Hughes said it's 1,400. Jacques Dio says it's 200. Imagine that's what the vice president is saying. No, Nigel is not 1,400. As if killing 200 people is a badge of honor.
But killing 200 black people is a badge of honor for the PPP and Jacques Dio. It's a badge of honor. They're proud of it because they think that keeps us in check. And the reason why they don't hold the police accountable, the reason why Clifford Hicken is still the police commissioner, is because they want African Guyanese and their political opponents to fear what he can potentially do to protect the PPP government and what he can do to intimidate people. And that's why you have a hesitancy from certain people to protest, because they know that Clifford Hicken is going to take instructions and kill them. He has the history of killing people or instructing or allowing his officers to kill people. Now, as you said, what we saw in the so-called violence that surrounded the murder and the police response or lack thereof of this child is people who were angry over the slaughter of 1,400 young black men, extrajudicial killings, the genocide committed by the PPP, the slaughter of Orrin Boston, the slaughter of Kevin Andrews, the slaughter of Quindon Bacchus, and all these other people. What went on in Linden, Mr. Peters, the young man who was shot in his eye, Hollinsworth, all the others, and the lack of response and the callousness, shared callousness of the PPP in responding. The president thinks going and hug up a black mother and then call she one side and say, hey, we're going to send some money for bury this dead and so on, that is what black people want, right? Give me some money for bury dead and we happy and we celebrate. And some people have given them that impression. And then they use certain types of people that look like you and me, right, to go into the society and gaslight people, lie to them, rewrite history, right, and give them a bag. The PPP thinks that they can control our society by taking our oil money and throw it at us as a means of inducement or bribery to forget things.
As a means of inducement and bribery.
Yes.
Of course, when we talk about people like Mr. Hickens and others, we are talking about them in their professional capacity. When Mr. Hicken or any member of the Guyana Police Force puts on that uniform, they're no longer the individual John, the individual Tom. They are putting on the uniform of the state. So when Brother Rickford talks about the actions of Mr. Hicken, he's speaking about Mr. Hicken not in his personal capacity, but in his official capacity. When he puts on that uniform, he's no longer Clifton Hicken, the individual. Bob Marley said, uniforms of brutality. That's what he called the police uniform. Uniforms of brutality. When he puts on that uniform, he puts on the uniform of brutality. So we're not talking about Clifton Hickens, the individual here. Clifton Hickens, with that uniform on, he becomes an agent of the state. An agent of the state. Brother Rickford, a young lady, gainfully employed, as the old timers would say, a nurse, had some private conversation, which then was leaked into the public about where she was or wasn't during the autopsy, and then that became an act of terrorism. She was charged. She should not have been charged. She was charged, taken before the court. And the court looked at a young 22-year-old woman with children at home, brought before that court, charged with making a private statement that was leaked, and remand that child to jail. Is the judiciary, which is supposed to dispense justice in an even-handed way and to check the excesses of the executive. Here is the judiciary looking at a working young woman, a young woman with children, and remanding that woman to jail. I am a judiciary person, because, my God, if it weren't for the courts, we would all be dead. Upset
or in jail.
Yeah. Upset that, mankind in his natural state, his life would be short, nasty, and brutish. Had there not been the courts, our lives would have been so short. So I am not an anti-court person, but I think the court has to get with the program and do not join this government in condemning and persecuting, not prosecuting, persecuting young people. They can't say that little girl is a scrapehead. You shouldn't do it to scrapeheads. But they can't say she walking. She got 2 little children, and you watch that child and send her to jail. Rickford Burke, your comments.
Well, we have to look at it from 2 perspectives. I'm deeply shocked that this charge, which is obviously a misapplication of the law, deliberately so, to intimidate people from doing it, from leaking government information and from protesting and so on. That's the objective here. So I want to look at it from the political side and then the judicial side. So here is, and this is orchestrated by ministers of the government. You hear them go on TV and defend it and talk about it, and even before it happened, spoke about it. In this case, the Attorney General. And he's defending it. A man who was charged with thieving government assets. A man who was investigated for the murder of Courtney Cummingway. Never exonerated in either of these cases. Can go and boast about putting a mother of 2 in jail for making up a conversation, allegedly. But I blame here not only the police for following political instruction, but the DPP. Why in heaven's name did the DPP allow that charge to go to court when the DPP knows there's no way in hell they're going to get a conviction there? It shows to me that the DPP is part of the system that is working to intimidate people, to protect the PPP regime. The DPP is part of the system that is working against the citizens of the country to protect the PPP. Now, in terms of the judiciary, I'm shocked that this young lady was remanded, and I'm not sure about the latitude that the magistrate has. I think the magistrate is a fair magistrate. I'm not sure if the law under which she was charged allows the magistrate to put her on bail. It's like them charging Mark Benchcock with treason with no evidence. The law doesn't allow a treason accused to be placed on bail. But I think that they can approach the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court could make that decision because the Supreme Court has the power to strike down a law, right? And I'm hoping that that's what this young lady's attorneys will do. But it is shocking, and if I haven't checked the law, if the law allows the discretion of the magistrate, then I'm very disappointed in the magistrate.
The law does allow the magistrate the discretion, and I am a student of Thurgood Marshall, who said that my job on the bench is not to restrict and to contract freedom, but to expand freedom. Let the magistrate send that child home and said, go home and look after your children, go back to work, and let the government appeal.
But you know what? There's no independence of the judiciary. So then the magistrate is going to be victimized. And you see, that's the issue too.
But I am saying, I am responding to your thesis.
Yeah, but I'm very disappointed in the magistrate. I am very disappointed in the magistrate.
That, you know, if it's not a bailable offense, you can go to the High Court.
Right.
You know, there's such a thing as judicial activism. You read law in strict constructivist way, but you also read law in the elastic way, and so on. So a magistrate always has discretion. Always has discretion. You have.
I know the judge. I know a judge. I'm not sure. I have to research it. I don't want to make a pronouncement and then people say that I'm acting in ignorance. But I know that I am shocked that this matter hasn't gone to the High Court, and I'm wondering why. I'm sure she has competent attorneys. I'm wondering why this matter hasn't gone to the High Court for them to produce a habeas corpus writ to, you know, for the government to produce her. I think if it goes to the High Court, she's going to be released. And again, like I said, I'm very disappointed in the magistrate. I don't want to condemn the magistrate. I think the magistrate has in the past demonstrated fairness, but I'm shocked and I'm disappointed in this case.
I'm asking you to condemn the magistrate.
No. I'm just saying generally. If it was a magistrate that I felt normally is not fair, I would have condemned what she did here. Like I condemned the magistrate in Region 5, who's a racist, who should not be on the bench, who was deliberately placed in the magistracy to be a racist and to send black people to jail in Region 5.
One is talking about judicial philosophy, that we have judicial review in the United States today.
I'm not too sure about that right now, but go ahead.
Well, it's because a judge, the law said, the role of the court is to interpret the law.
Correct.
All right? And the justice in that case took a broad reading of the law. He says that, look, the role of the court is to interpret the law. You are an agent of the government, and so therefore you're a creature of the Constitution. And you have two sets of laws. You have statutory law and constitutional law. And since you are a creature of the Constitution, I can tell you, the court can tell you what to do. And as a result of that broad reading of what interpreting the law means, they were arguing that interpreting law means statutory law. And the judge said, no, statutory is law and constitution is law. And since you're a creature of the Constitution, I can tell you what to do. And today, we have judicial review in America and the rest of the world. Whether it's functional in America today is another story. But the point I am making is there is nothing constraining an officer of the court to take a human rights approach to someone who comes before them. I gave the thing. I was charged in 1983 with damaging a tomato, a slave law. I went before a Sri Lankan lady named Chinta. And I
remember her. Chinta. That I remember her. I remember hearing of her, right?
She turned to the police and said, why are you bringing a slave charge in front of me? She said, Mr. Hines, you are free to go home. Case closed. Case closed. She didn't ask nothing about whether I have the power. Once you sit on that bench, you have discretion. And you, if you don't have it in an explicit way, you can infer it. You can infer it from the law. A magistrate and a judge, they all have.
But apart from that, too, Dr. Hines, why is the society quiet?
They had the power. The society is not quiet. The society is out there every night, every day, doing something. The society is not quiet. I don't know why you all are saying that.
But I'm talking about in terms of advocacy in the courts. Advocacy in the courts.
Yeah. But when they're out there, all of that coming to being, the society is moving. They're moving. We've been calling for.
Well, I would like to see them move more and more forcefully.
But you can't direct them. Whether you like to see them move more is a matter for you. The fact of the matter, they determine how they move, when they move. And when they moved that night and took over the country for a night, turned back plainly got Trinidad, it scared the shit out of all of us who were calling for boots on the ground. The people are always on the move. And it's we, the politicians, who want to direct them how they must move. Don't burn road. Don't burn tire.
I don't subscribe to that. I believe people have a right to protest. And within the confines of the law, I believe people have a right to protest.
And the hypocrites, and sometimes not, sometimes beyond the confines of the law. Because they got people who telling the black people how to protest, who used to burn cane from morning to night. And Burnham never jailed them. Never jailed them. And so this thing about frightening people about the confines of the law, there is natural law, and then there is statutory law.
And there's also civil disobedience. But let me explain what I mean when I talk about, like, for instance, the church. You have an injustice here, two injustices. The murder of this child and the lack of an investigation. And then you have this young lady being charged with terrorism. Even the smallest child in the country knows that's outrageous. Knows that charge is inappropriate for whatever. I don't even know why she's charged with a crime for making up a story, lying. Then, as somebody said, everybody in the government should go to jail because all of them lie every day. But you have the religious community very silent. They're not involved in civil rights. They're not involved in civil rights. You have civil society, those formal organizations, Private Sector Commission, Georgetown Chamber of Commerce, this lady, women's organization, that they're all silent. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people. I'm talking about organizations in the society that claim they have a role or a mandate among the people. They must speak up. The Catholic Church must speak up. The Anglican Church must speak up. The Assemblies of God Church must speak up. The Chamber of Commerce must speak up whenever there is injustice. The Private Sector Commission must stop being PPP and show some balance in the society and speak out when people's rights and civil rights and liberties are violated. That's what I'm talking about. I have another appointment coming up right now. So I hope we can wrap up soon.
Yes, we're wrapping up now.
Okay, great.
Because I also have another appointment. We're wrapping up now, Rickford. Always a pleasure having you on and ventilating on a number of issues and shedding light and energy to our deliberations. Your closing thoughts.
Well, thanks for having me, and thanks for. I see you have a massive audience here of about 8,000 people watching. I want to say to Guyanese that we have to put some energy in our activism. We have to be more resolute, and we have to stand up for what is right as a society and as a nation. We're in trouble. We're in trouble in terms of people's civil rights. We're in trouble in terms of all of these young black people being killed. We're in trouble with a corrupt police force that follows political instructions, that has become a mercenary force of the PPP government. We're in trouble with this cover-up of the murder of a little child. Where's our sense of morality as a polity, as a government? And then we're in trouble at the border. You have a president dancing in a party while our troops are being shot at. And he's the commander-in-chief. We have soldiers on the border whose cousins are being shot and killed with no justice. And I don't care who wants to say it's racist, right? I don't see the people on social media making the kind of comments that Guyana Daily News, or endorsing the kind of comments that Guyana Daily News posts every day. At the border, I don't see the majority of PPP supporters at the border. It is the cousins and the brothers and the sisters and the father and the mother of the people who have been killed and face injustice in Guyana who are at the border. Let that sink in. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having me, Doctor.
Thank you very much, my brother.
Good
And
night, everybody.
hopefully I'll see you sooner rather than later. And thank you all for staying with us. We are doing it as we always do it. We are called in this time to witness for our own freedom and our own dignity, our own freedom and our own dignity, because we are human beings. We shall not stop, we shall not waver, we shall not cower, because we are human beings. Forward, forward, onward, Christian soldiers, marching as to war. With, you all know with what? And we are moving on. See you all tomorrow night. Dr. Henry Jeffrey is going to be here. We have a packed week this week. We expect the opposition leader to be here one of the nights this week. So I shall see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place, same message, different day, but we moving on.